guy earns more than $100 million a year by living as a caveman. He eats raw liver, bull testicles, and bone marrow every single day. And for dessert,
we're having brain ice cream. That's right, brain ice cream. Let's dig in.
He's known as the Liver King, and he has an insane following of 6.3 million in total. And he's here to teach his followers how to live like our primitive ancestors. He hunts for his food, trains by lifting heavy branches, and eats like a wild beast.
I'm the Liver King, and because liver is king, we're gonna take a bite out of it.
Liver King wants everyone to live like cavemen, to be the healthiest. But his followers noticed something sketchy about the lifestyle he was preaching, because he was seen in huge mansions, fancy restaurants, and flying in private jets. And recently, he was exposed for taking $15,000 worth of steroids a month to maintain his body. So now that everybody is calling him a fraud, people on the internet assume that he will never be back on social media. But what happened next shocked the whole world, because he decided to expose himself more. Turns out the biggest body flexer on social media is hiding a very dark secret. This is the true story of the Liver King.
Juicy! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Nerd Chronicles. Alright? This is your host, the Proud Lane, okay? Certified beta male simp, whatever scrawny dude is with no game. Socially awkward nerd, the obese Liver King, Christian Paul's in the building. Alright? I'm gonna tell you, the Liver King situation has literally got me thinking. Right? All about anabolic steroids. I can actually relate to some of the stuff that actually they're talking about after working in my dad's and my father's private practice, and he does practice nephrology, by the way. I've been working with him for about a decade or so, knowing more about kidney failure, hypertension, high blood pressure, you name it. And it got me thinking about this ordeal right here. Anabolic steroids. How did the Liver King actually get this big and literally get this jacked? And from what I've been hearing on some bodybuilders, and a lot of people actually do a lot of weight training often for a long time. They can actually tell about like Liver King's build and everything. They may claim that he's on the roids. They claim that he's not natty, as you will, or natty is short for natural. They'll have these ordeals saying, oh, he didn't get all this up by himself, it's not organic, he's on the roids, he's on pills, however it may be, right? So I dug into this article from the Medical News Today, ladies and gentlemen, talking about anabolic steroids, that's medically reviewed by Dr. Alan Carter, basically done by Miss Kathleen Davis on June 27th, 2018. So we're going to read this whole thing together and see what they deal with when it comes to anabolic steroids here. So, anabolic steroids, right? Used for some medical conditions, but people also use them illegally in some sports settings. They use them to boost muscle mass, performance, and endurance, and shorten recovery time between workouts. Drugs artificially derived from the main male hormone testosterone, and testosterone is important for promoting and maintaining muscle growth and developing secondary male sex characteristics, such as the deepening voice and facial hair. Right? Anabolic steroids, also called anabolic androgenic steroids, AAS for short, can build muscle and improve athletic performance, but they can also have significant adverse effects, especially when used incorrectly. Long-term non-medical uses are linked to heart problems, unwanted physical changes, and aggression. There's a growing concern worldwide about the non-medical use of steroids and its effects. Street names include Arnold's, Jim Candy, Pumpers, Roids, Stackers. Right? Just scroll on fast facts on anabolic steroids. Steroids sometimes used in medicine. Legal use of steroids may involve doses 10 to 100 times higher than a normal prescription dose. In the U.S. alone, steroids need prescription, but this is not the case in many countries. All synthetic steroids combine muscle building effects with the development of secondary male sexual characteristics, and the steroids used have been linked to a higher risk of heart attack or stroke. Damn. Anabolic steroids. AAS is a synthetic version of the primary male hormone testosterone, which affect many parts of the body, including muscles, bone, hair follicles, liver, kidneys, blood, immune system, reproductive system, and the central nervous system, basically your brain. During puberty, increasing testosterone levels enable the development of characteristics such as facial and body hair growth, increased hair muscle mass, a deepening voice, and the sex drive. Testosterone can also contribute to competitiveness, self-esteem, and aggressiveness. Now, how do people use them, right? Continuous use of AASs can lead to problems such as tolerance. They may even cause the body to stop producing its own testosterone. Some people use steroids continuously, while others try to minimize their possible adverse effects to different paths of use. And they have the use that bodybuilders basically use these types of terms. Cycling. Person takes steroids in cycles of 6 to 12 weeks, known as the on period, followed by 4 weeks to several months off. Now, stacking. This is another term that bodybuilders mainly use. Users combine several different types of steroids to incorporate other supplements in an attempt to maximize the effectiveness of the steroids. This is called stacking, right? Pyramid, right? Some users gradually increase the dose to a peak, then reduce the amount. Now, we don't really know. I can't even remember what Liver King said in his email, literally line for line down to the top of my brain. I know it's every stuff to email, but at least this stuff is clearly related to what the Liver King has done, right? However, there's no evidence that increase these methods and reduce the risk. Obese Liver Kings in the building, right? So, the types. There are 32 types of anabolic steroids listed on commercial websites. Some have only medicinal uses, such as libido. Anadrol is an example of a steroid with both medicinal and performance uses. Others, such as Anadrol, have no therapeutic uses, but athletes use them. People use different types for different purposes. Bulking steroids for building muscle. Performance steroids for strength and endurance. Cutting steroids for burning fat. Other reasons for use including healing, recovery, and enhancement of metabolism. For both medical and illegal purposes, steroids can be taken by mouth, as pellets impaled on the skin, by injection, through the skin as a cream or gel. Oral forms are taken by mouth, which include floxymesterone, Halocin or Halo, mesterolone, Povidone, methendianone, Dianabol or D-ball, or methyltestosterone, Veloline, Mibolorone, Shek, Oxandrolone, Anavar, Oxandrin or VAR, Oxymethylone, Anadrol or Draw, Stanzosol, Winstrol or Winnie. Injectable forms mainly include Boldenone, Undesacchinate, Europoise or EQ, Methanone, Enanate, Primbolon or Primo, Nandrolone, Decanote, Decadubolin or Deca, Nandrolone, Penproponiate, Durabolin or NPP, Testosterone Cypionate, Depotest, Testosterone Enanthate, Angioestro, Testosterone Propionate, Testex, Trembone Acetate, Phenojet or Tren. Steroids travel to the bloodstream to the muscle tissue, where they bind to an androgen receptor. The drug can subsequently interact with the cell's DNA and stimulate the protein synthesis, that process that promotes cell growth. Medical uses, right? Some types of steroids are commonly used for medical treatment. For example, corticosteroids can help people with asthma to breathe during an attack. Testosterone is also prescribed for a number of hormone-related conditions such as hypogonadism. However, steroids are not commonly prescribed as a treatment. In America, a steroid is a Schedule Ill controlled substance available only by prescription. The use of these drugs is only legal when prescribed by a medical provider. Medical conditions they are used to treat include delayed puberty, conditions that lead to muscle loss such as cancer and stage 3 HIV or AIDS, testosterone and several of its esters, as well as methyl-testosterone, nandrolone, decanoate, and oxandrolone are the main anabolic androgenic steroids currently prescribed in the U.S. Now we go steroids in sports. Non-medical use of steroids is not permitted in America under the Controlled Substance Act. Unlawful possession and distribution are subject to federal and state laws, and sport includes bodybuilding as well. As it is not legal for athletic purposes, there is no legal control over the quality or use of drugs sold for this purpose. That's why you see a lot of bodybuilders like deal with steroids actually trying to get an edge. Illegal steroids are obtained through the internet and through informal dealers like other illegal drugs. However, they may also be available through unscrupulous pharmacists, doctors, and veterinarians. Designer steroids, quote, quote, are sometimes produced in a way athletes pass doping tests. Their composition and use are entirely unregulated, add to the hazards that they pose. Athletes often consume steroids on a trial and error basis. These information gained from other athletes, coaches, websites, or gym gurus, especially ones on YouTube. As a result, they do not have access to medical information and support that they can keep themselves while using these drugs. You know, you got the side effects, right? The adverse effects of steroids use depends on the product, the age, and the sex of the user, how much they use, and for how long. Legal prescribed normal dose anabolic steroids may have the following side effects: acne, fluid retention, difficulty or pain when urinating, enlarged male breasts, enlarged male melons. And basically, when we're talking about fluid retention, I'm basically assuming retaining water. Basically, you get dehydrated more. Enlarged male breasts, known as gynecomastia, increased red cell count, lower levels of good, quote, quote, HDL cholesterol, and higher levels of bad LDL cholesterol, hair growth or loss, low sperm count, and infertility, ouch. Changes in libido. Users will attend follow-up appointments and take periodic blood tests to monitor for unwanted effects. Non-medical use of steroids can involve quantities from 10 to 100 times the amount used for medical purposes. Incorrect use of steroids can lead to increased risk of cardiovascular problems, sudden cardiac death, and myocardial infarction. Liver problems, including tumors and other types of damage, cancer. Tendon rupture due to degeneration of collagen, ouch. Osteoporosis and bone loss, as steroid use affects metabolism of calcium and vitamin D. Oh, God. Arthritis. Oh, my goodness. In adolescence, it can result in permanently stunted growth in men. There may be shrinking nuts, sterility, right? Infertility, and enlarged melons. Now, women, they may experience changes in the menstrual cycle. Ouch. Deepening of the voice, you know, you basically transfer to a man, you know, basically be transgender. Lengthening of the clitoris, increased facial and body hair, shrinking melons, increased sex drive. Right? Some of these changes may be permanent even after stopping use. There's also risk of liver damage, aggression and feelings of hostility, mood and anxiety disorders, reckless behavior, psychological dependence, and addiction. People who suddenly discontinue steroids after using for a long time may experience withdrawal symptoms, including severe depression. Health risks. Apart from these adverse effects, there are other health risks. Sharing needles to inject steroids increases the chance of contracting and transmitting blood-borne infectious diseases such as hepatitis or HIV. The use of unlicensed products carries a risk of poisoning. Whoa. Dang. Psychiatric systems can develop in people who use steroids for a long time. These include severe mood swings, paranoia and delusions, impaired judgment, feelings of invincibility, mania and anger, known as roid rage, that may lead to violence. These extreme and unwanted effects can affect those already prone to these types of behaviors. Long-term unregulated use of steroids can affect some of the same brain pathways and chemicals that are affected by other drugs, such as opiates. This can result in dependency and possibly addiction. Withdrawal. Misuse of steroids can lead to withdrawal symptoms when the person stops taking them. Withdrawals can include fatigue, restlessness, mood swings, depression, fatigue. They already said fatigue twice. Insomnia, reduced sex drive. Cravings, hunger. First step in treating anabolic steroid abuse is to discontinue use and seek medical help in order to address any psychiatric and physical symptoms that might occur. An addiction treatment facility and counseling may help. Ooh, all these questions. Oh my steroids, I believe that article is mainly done. And we're going on to legal here. They're not really anabolic. The latter is prescription-only medications for treating health conditions. Alright, so as long as it's approved by a doctor, that's what they would discuss what goes on. So the legal steroids talk about workout supplements that increase muscle mass, right? Let me try to look here. And you got powders as well. That's not that big of a deal. Legal steroids are not the same as anabolic steroids. The latter is a synthetic form of testosterone that doctors may prescribe to treat certain hormonal or muscle wasting conditions. People sometimes misuse anabolic steroids to increase muscle mass to boost athletic performance. However, these drugs may have harmful side effects that are illegal without a prescription. Dang.
We got several ounces of liver with breakfast, lunch, and dinner because liver is king.
So here is some raw bison liver, okay? And I have Stephanie here. She actually wants to try some as well. But since I've been following Liver King, I actually did some research on liver. It's actually extremely nutritious, especially in the raw format, okay? It's really high in vitamins, trace minerals. It has lots of vitamin A, has more B12 than any other food that you could possibly eat. It also helps with dental health and bone density. Interestingly enough, New Zealand beef liver has more nutrients in it than U.S. raised beef liver. All right, now this is bison liver, which is mostly pasture raised in a pasture that I actually checked out, and I actually got this fresh from the farm. So if you're going to do this, make sure that you know your source. All right, so we're going to try a piece.
Juicy.
Her first time. What do you think? Follow for her reaction.
Wife! Napkin!
Some of you may have seen the Liver King on social media. He's become quite famous for eating large amounts of raw meat, and he says that that is the secret to his massive physique. But a lot of scientists, including me, are quite concerned with the diet that he seems to be recommending on social media. I may not be as jacked, but for whatever my opinion counts for, I think his diet is absolutely bonkers. This man apparently eats 1 pound or 450 grams of raw liver every single day. Yes, liver is incredibly nutrient dense, but that means it's only good for you in small amounts. For example, just 100 grams of beef liver contains 6 times the daily recommended intake of vitamin A. And if you have too much vitamin A, you can get things like vision problems, bone fractures, you can even die. And vitamin A builds up in the body and can't be easily flushed out, so it can be a real problem. So ultimately, I'm not sure how this man is still standing. And if you want my scientific opinion on any other influences, let me know.
Juicy. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have a clip coming from the National Geographic that details the side effects of anabolic steroid use. Shall we?
I think some of the damage I did is probably permanent as far as like an enlarged heart. Yeah. I don't want to go back and bodybuild. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for, you know, how long can I live, right? And if you look around this...
Damn! Excuse me, y'all.
Who's here? It's old men. It's like, why am I here? I'm freaking 37. Like, something's...
Oh my God. 37 years old at the time.
Right?
Jeff has been under the care of a cardiologist for the past year, ever since doctors treating his steroid infection also discovered signs of heart failure.
Oh my God.
So, doctor, because Jeff took testosterone for so many years, now his body doesn't produce it naturally, and he actually has to take testosterone to stay healthy.
This is the unfortunate irony for guys that are looking to become superhuman per se. Now they end up in a point where, again, they obliterate their body's own ability to produce testosterone.
Today, Jeff will be getting the results to see if his heart has bounced back to normal.
So there's 2 main things that we're evaluating with that echo. One is your systolic function, which is the squeezing function. And that was the one that was mildly reduced last time you were here. That actually does not look significantly different. Okay, so it still looks a little bit sluggish. But there's another parameter that we look at, which is the relaxation function of the heart.
Right.
And that was also quite abnormal last time you were here. That looks significantly better.
Okay.
Okay. You know, we're not at the point where I'd say your heart looks normal, unfortunately.
Right.
I think you should sort of get your mind around the fact that you're probably going to be on long-term medication.
Dang.
I worry about Jeff's longevity. His heart actually hasn't bounced back to normal. And the longer we sit, that sort of suggests that something permanent has happened there.
My
Have you started
God.
taking steroids again?
Not a good outlook.
We've heard from a lot of people that say that there is a safe way of doing this. The people that have gotten hurt is because they didn't know what they were doing and they were taking too much, or
Right.
but there is actually a safe way to do this. they
Right.
say. What do you think?
I think those people are kidding themselves.
Whoa. Wow. From a doctor, ladies and gentlemen.
Data that we have are autopsy studies. That means someone died. Jeff, frankly, is lucky. And there's lots and lots of case reports of young guys having heart attacks and having strokes, sudden death. So your first symptom is dying.
My God, this is... You know... And I know there's a lot of people up in the bodybuilding community and the fitness industry. You know, some of them doing their little cycles and whatnot. I can understand that. But this is not to try and burst your bubble at all, or try and make a mockery out of this. Because I worked under a doctor's facility for many years. Alright? But this is crazy. I'm going to say that at the very least. I'm just experimenting on this stuff and doing research. That's all I'm doing. I'm not an expert. If you say I'm just a researcher, I'm an applied mathematician, I just basically run models for a living. Okay. And this is going to be some very fun ordeals. I do have some try and fail ordeals I actually want to try and test out when it comes to web scraping. And I want to try and dig into some items that a lot of the bodybuilders mainly use and see which one is the hottest and which one is not. For folks that want to try and up their game and see how serious this whole ordeal is. On why the Liver King, behind the scenes, got to where he had to try and deceive the public. Right? Let me see if I can try and sell the image. Even if it's fantasy, even if it's like beyond reach. As long as I try and sell it to him to get clout, that's all that matters, right? I want to try and dig into that and how steroids can literally impact anyone's health. So with that, Obese Liver King is about to sign out here. You know, y'all like, comment, subscribe to this whole ordeal. If there's any other bodybuilder or any other any bodybuilding content creator that's on this channel that actually want to try and get their little up ordeals, actually want to contest based on what I found, you're welcome to do so. You know, I'm not trying to argue or actually trying to dip the piece or actually trying to talk ill, but it's basically trying to dig on what the heck is going on, why the Liver King's acting up the way that he is. So, with that, Obese Liver King signing out. Okay. Deuces, deuces, deuces.